Okay, so wonderful recording with Suzette there, and that was a short summary of a conversation that lasted over an hour. And it's just with Emma's already mentioned it, just with reminding you all that the longer form versions of these conversations are going to come out later in the year in podcasts. So we'll have a kind of podcast series that anyone will be able to access. And then we're quite motivated to continue on interviewing other interested parties, people from healthcare and beyond who've got lessons to share. So hopefully that will continue into another series. And any suggestions for people we should be talking to would be welcome. But this is coming to the end of the day, and what brilliant day it's been. So I'd like to invite other members of the panel just to share some reflections on the day. And what did you think? Fran, you were the first to join, so why don't we kick off with you? Anything to take home from this?
Oh man, masses. I mean, it's been LFE conferences, I have to say, are always amazing. And I wasn't sure how it would work virtually, and it's been just as good. The facilities aren't so good, but everything else has been fantastic. Just hear it. I mean, every single speaker has brought so much. I mean, I suppose the one that's just sticking with me at the moment is what Don Berwick has shared. And, I think it's particularly around his ideas about measurement, actually. As somebody who's come through a sort of an improvement background and did a lot of measurement previously, and then how we're maybe having to have a more nuanced approach to that. I really like that. And I particularly resonated these ideas about, how him and his wife have tried to improve their marriage, not through measurement and metrics, but through conversation. So, I'll focus on that one personally, but I think, some of those messages about relationship improvement at work as well. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. What an inspiring conversation it was.
And no more questionnaires at home.
Yeah.
I was saying I really liked this recurring theme that was going on about how we should listen to the children somehow more, gather the insights that are shared from the young people in the world, which is a challenge for us as well, isn't it? But we should bring in Pete, because although his camera seems to be having problems, but Pete, if you're with, it's nice to see you, Pete. Would you, do you have anything that you think you're going to take home from this, or any reflections or controversies you want to highlight?
Well, yeah, like Fran just said, just absolutely loads, really. But I think two things. There was just one thing. Was it Alex who was on earlier? Yeah, one thing that he said that just really, sometimes people say things and it just really hits you because it's just kind of something that you've been thinking about a lot recently as well. And I think kind of, I'm in a deeply kind of troubled organisation at the moment, or at least it's perceived to be deeply troubled externally. And once again, clearly nothing is always ever that bad as it may seem. But he talked about that idea that we just see we almost see organizations as machines that are almost like they're this factory that just churns something out, and how we've kind of lost sight of the idea that actually, people go to work to feel valued. And, it's almost like we kind of strip the humanity out of workplaces because we just kind of see them as this kind of process, really. And actually, what about the kind of value people feel in their work and the contribution that they feel they're making? We're kind of looking at it through the wrong lens. That really just kind of struck me, because it's felt something that I kind of think I've seen a lot of people in my organisation have felt, really. But then the other thing that I was really kind of reflecting on quite a lot was the bit that Adrian just talked about. It was just really nice to hear people talking about children. And one thing that I've always loved about the LFE conferences is the fact that you get these things that I just don't think you hear talked about in other kind of conference settings, and it's all very it feels very humanitarian and very and that's really welcome. And I think as well, there's been a lot of comments in the chat, and obviously it's a hugely difficult time for everybody, isn't it? It's always challenging in healthcare, but clearly the past 18 months have been ridiculously challenging. And I know kind of at this end, just the sheer level of emergency demand is just staggering, really, and people are reeling. but just kind of reflecting on almost my journey since I left the job, or I was kind of working really closely with you guys on the LFE stuff. We shouldn't forget sometimes that kind of it's not all up, is it? You know, you go up and down, you have your swings and roundabouts, you have your bits where you feel deflated, dejected, you know, but you bounce back up again if you're surrounded by people who kind of inspire you and you can talk to. So that bit about connection, I think, is really, really important, and we shouldn't forget that, you know, it's normal to kind of feel that dejection sometimes. I think everybody will feel it. If they feel passionate about something, they will feel kind of that they have their low points, but just that, you know, maintaining that connection with people can really bounce you back up, and just kind of today's really helped to kind of give me a bit of a bounce back, I think, and inspire me again. So thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, that's it's nice to hear that particular reflection, that we're able to, through this, the community and the presentations and the discussions can provide some uplift and inspiration, because that is part of the aim of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt these are tough times for sure. I'm looking around the screen. It's probably the easiest way to do this. So I'll move to Anna next from the T-Rex team. What take homes have you taken from this?
Thanks, Adrian. As everyone else said, it's just such an amazing day, and it always has been. I missed LFE 3, but 1, 2 and 4 have been mind-blowing and amazing. And to be in a different role this time for me has been, well, I just feel very, very grateful. I think the take home for me, oh gosh, there's so many, but I think because I'm in a slightly different role than I was at the previous LFE, so my background is an anaesthetist, but I'm now part-time anaesthetist, part-time patient safety specialist, which is where I work with my other Anna. And I think I just feel really sort of inspired and more confident in this role as a patient safety specialist, because it's such a new role. We've both been sort of, what is the role? And now I feel, from hearing all the speakers today, like actually we are doing good work, we are doing the right thing, and sort of go forward and take the work forward. Yeah.
Well, I think someone's put in the chat, it's hard to tell which Anna is speaking because you're both very fast. But
that was me, and I'm Anna Costello. I'll hand over to Anna O'Neill.
we thought that was the case.
Sorry about that. We have, because we're in the office, we have to wear the mask. Sorry about that.
I think for me, I've never been to an LFE conference before, so it's just been amazing. I've certainly never been to a conference with this number of participants and not this number of incredibly inspirational and influential people, almost kind of idols. You know, I've seen lots of you on TED Talks and on the big wide world web, and yeah, so actually sort of hearing you in real life, and being able to sort of
talking to him now.
all of you, yeah.
Right.
All of you. It's been so reassuring, like Anna said, I think, to you know, really appreciate that actually what we are doing, we're on the right track, and we're all sort of in this together, and it's been brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, the in it together thing, yeah. Totally. I'm going around. Ali, what are your take homes?
Yeah, I agree with what Pete says. You know, it's a real opportunity, kind of, what did he call it, a bounce back? You know, it's like an opportunity always to be re-energized by each other. And what I love about this meeting is that, you know, we're a big community, a growing community of people who are similarly minded, not necessarily completely the same, but we can all bounce ideas off each other. And I always go back feeling really energized back to the workplace. But then for me, the real challenge is, how do I take what I've reflected on from an LFE conference and then put it into practical use? That's where the real challenge is, until I can be re-energized again next year. So it's, for me, I'm thinking about things that I can do. So, you know, I'll try and be kind. I will try and listen to people with genuine interest. And those are things that I can do at work. But, you know, I'm thinking about ways that we can really delve into learning from the positivity quality reports that we get, not just LFE, but we also use care opinion. I saw there was a bit of stuff in the chat about that.
Yeah.
And really capturing what goes on in care opinion. And there's a lot of stuff that people post on Facebook really being learned from. So I think for me, am I still here? Hello?
Yeah, you I turned your video off because your bandwidth looked like it was going down. But we could still hear you.
Yeah, I was talking too much. So it's quite right to switch the video off. But yeah, I think it's I think it's just thinking about ways you can think now for every single person, what can I take now into my workplace and practically use, having been re-energized?
Yeah,
I shall now stop talking.
Yeah. No, what you were talking about. Go, Pete. Darren.
It's the first healthcare conference that's been taken over by Dalek, as far as I know as well.
But we heard 95% of what you said, Ali. And so the challenge is, we may be uplifted by this, but how do we take it on into the workplace? I'm going around in the circle. Sally, you're next. What would you be taking home?
So there's something that was a thread through all of the topics, and it's that in healthcare we are born and we work to fix, and actually we can't fix systems, not individually anyway, that's for sure, but we can try and fix things. But there was something that really hit home for me from Margaret, and it was how, instead of how can we fix this patient, how can we lift a life? And it sort of summarizes everything for me, because how can we lift a life in, they may be patients or colleagues, and everything that we do, if it centers around how we might be able to lift a life, I think it would be more of a focus than how can I fix this patient, how can I fix this organization? And then the last thing really was understanding that bad behaviors aren't bad people. And a lot of times we talk about management not giving us funding to do this, or management not doing that, but actually they're under pressure as well, and understanding the disconnect. And I just want to get everybody in a room. So like Don said, 1,000 people in a room, whatever the organization is, if we can come together and understand each other, I think we'll be able to move much further. And that seems like quite a difficult concept, but coming together and lifting each other's lives, that's what I think. And it's been phenomenal. Yet again, inspired, and I'm walking away with a skip in my step.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. So we've got Gemma and Alison, and then the rest of us in the room, actually. So Gemma, what are your take homes?
Yeah, firstly, just to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to the organisers. Thank you to the participants and everyone who's attended and engaged so much in the chat. It's been amazing. I wish I could have captured all of it at the same time. Yeah, so much to take away. What I think I've really enjoyed is, even though in a way it feels really complex, this stuff we've been talking about, because it is about human behaviour, we can change that. And that's something that we almost have, our own locus of control, that we can start doing that tomorrow, when we go into work. So actually I quite like that, because it's moving away from processes and things. It's really about behavior, and I enjoy the fact that we have control over that, and if we behave positively, that we can influence the people we work with. I know a really good example of that was the T-Rex team. I was inspired by what the group of anaesthetists are doing there at their briefs, and pushing back, saying, this is not a late start, this is value added time. So I'm inspired to go and do that. And I suppose what comes with that is being brave. That's resonated through the day, about the importance of being brave, and challenging the status quo. And particularly Don Berwick saying, name a stupid rule. I'm literally chomping at the bit to have a go at that one. So yeah, it's been a fantastic day, and I can't thank you all enough.
Yeah, thank you, Gemma. That's great. Alison, who's actually sitting there, what are your take home?
Yes, I have found a common thread through our speakers, with Chris saying it's always worth inquiring into why people are behaving the way they do. whether that's poorly or well. And then Don was saying how close to the surface everybody's innate humanity actually is. So there's a reason for poor behaviour, there's humanity in all of us. And then I guess the practical application of that begins, with the man in the mirror kind of thing, our unconditional positive regard for people, that curiosity about why they're behaving that way, and then using AI to ask the right questions to reach that really. So that went across the day for me.
Yeah, lovely. So we should get these guys in as well. Emma, do you want to? And actually, no, why don't we go to Laura and Sarah, who are sitting with us? What do you want to take home from today?
I think my take home was what Don was saying, that all people want is a chance to be proud of their work. I think that's probably what sat with me the most today. Yeah,
completely agree. Sarah?
I think for me, Dr. G talking about how comedy can disarm, and I could actually do some tips about things. He was talking about how he thinks before he shares, and I often open my mouth before I think. So I'm going to pick up with him and get some tips.
Yeah, that's great. No, he was brilliant, wasn't he? Very natural, clearly just a funny guy, but had a lot of wisdom in what he shared. What do you think, Chris?
So, I mean, I've been living this with you for quite a long time, with Emma as well, going through all the interviews. Today, the thing that I've taken away is this idea about valuing relationships and relationality. And it's really difficult to measure, but it's incredibly important. I was thinking, so how do we measure it? And then I thought, we don't have to. We can just value it. We can value the relationships at work in our everyday actions, and we can give them time and we can give them space, particularly those of us who have some degree of authority in our workplaces. And we might not be able to put a number onto that, but we can add an awful lot of value for the people that we work with if we allow them a little bit of time and space to have a positive relationship with each other. And for me, that's a bit about using the privilege of leadership that each one of us who is in a senior position gets.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, there's so much. This final session could continue, actually. I was going to ask Emma to wrap up, but there's other. Is David able to join or not? I'm not sure. It's one of the other panelists.
Yeah, there he is. Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry about that. I was comforting a 6-year-old whose friend was supposed to be coming over for tea, but she's sick, and now my daughter's unhappy. But so just two things. One, what I've really enjoyed about it is it's a mixture of a meeting of it's like philosophical, yet you also have these practical things. And just like Gemma, because I work in theatres, I'm going to take away the thing about the T-Rex and what they've been doing there, because I think it's really, it might not be an easy thing to do, but it's a good thing to do. And the other thing which I think we need to work out is how do we make time for having these conversations, for meeting up as groups, and just time for ourselves to think and do things. And that, again, as Gemma said, we have this conflict of being about staff well-being and having these conversations versus, we have these waiting lists, we have all these patients which need to be seen, and it's kind of how do we match those two things up and create that time? And I'm not sure of the answer to that. So
that is a big challenge in a system that's so stretched. How do we make time? Do we have to stop something in order to make time for this? So I think we should move on to Emma to close the day with your final reflections.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of flown by, and there's been brilliant things about each of the talks, but I hope we've created that sense of the value of connecting in whatever way it is. I think I loved hearing from Dr. G and that idea of how humour and laughter can connect us, and I found myself smiling through that session, and maybe it's also because of Frank Turner, but that was, it brought a bit of joy into the day. But we've heard perspectives from so many different people, actually, which has been fantastic. I've written down on my list that what I think Camilla mentioned about the Ubuntu and that kind of creating those relationships, and that's what we want to do a little bit more. And I loved my conversation with T-Rex, because that feels to me something practically that I can do. I know we've called this being better, and I think that is, there's things that we can do as individuals, but I quite like the idea of finding a way to connect with the people around me, whether that's the patients I look after or the staff that I work with. Yeah, so those are, I guess, are my reflections. We've got the most amazing resource in the chat, so we will do something with that to kind of reflect everyone's contributions, because I think that has just been lovely. It's been so vibrant throughout the day, and kind of seeing those conversations. So I think we have felt a bit connected to each other. Like it's not quite the same as having everyone in the same room, but it has been wonderful to see that and feel that people are connecting and having their little conversation. So yes, it's not quite the same as being together, but it has been really valuable for me. And I should thank Adrian. He did loads of the work. He basically organised this with the help of Laura and Sarah and Helen, but he's organised all the recordings. He's organised Chris to get in the right place, I think it's fair to say. He's turned our lounge into some kind of recording studio with a bit of string and a black sheet. And he's created a resource that will be really valuable. The longer form conversations are really fantastic as well. So I've been listening to those as a bit of a sneak preview, but we'll get those to you as soon as we can. What else do we need to say?
Well, thank you to everyone, really.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks to everyone for coming, because that's what's made it work, but obviously all the guests and the support from the people in the room with us today, and supported across the board. When we close it down, you should get a survey. It's very short, it's only 4 questions. If you could fill that in, that'd be great. And we will send out recordings, so links to these recordings, as well as some edited recording of the panel sessions in due course.
The posters are available online. There's amazing work there, and if you want to we'll put them as individual posters over the next few weeks. And if you want to be connected with the authors, then you can. We're happy to do that and provide those connections if you kind of want to learn any more about that.
Cool.
I'm looking at Adrian. I know it looks a bit weird when I'm not. Should we put the main screen on and we can all give a wave?
No, give a wave, and then we can wrap it up.
But thanks, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure to share the day with you all. So thanks for joining. Thanks for contributing. And we'll see you hopefully in person really soon. I'm sort of waving at both places. I don't know where to look.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.